Cardano is like that kid in high school who focused on his homework and decided to hit the weight room. He could have spent all his time on buying the right clothes and maybe even a car or a motorcycle in a shallow attempt to impress the girls. Instead, he spent all his time creating a robust future, making his mind and his body strong. Would this ever impress the high school girls? No. But Cardano wasn't investing in them. Cardano was investing in a future down the road that would be bigger than any his classmates could ever imagine for themselves.
Siete pronti? Dai!
Today, we are going to discuss Metamask users discovering that decentralization is more than something you just put into memes, drip drops going back to normal after the resounding success of distributing 30 million tokens, Cardano strong, Daedalus 4.9.0, the stake pool fixed fee discussion opening up today, and a good point about Cardano being too self-critical. As always, if these videos are bringing you value each weekday, I would absolutely love it if you would consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. You've heard me say it a million times, but this whole Gen 3 blockchain race, it's really about solving the blockchain trilemma. There are a million ways to pretend to solve the blockchain trilemma, but if you're not simultaneously addressing security, scalability, and decentralization, what are you really doing? We can sit around and talk about these things in the form of theoretics all day, but it doesn't really drive the point home until people actually suffer because of a lack of decentralization. And it's become clear that the EVM world of Gen 3 blockchain competitors, a lot of it has a lot of the players on that side, on the Ethereum virtual machine side, seem to have sacrificed the decentralization leg. Even if they were doing a good job on that piece, which I would argue they're not, we can't just think about the scaling piece. We also have to think about the decentralization piece because things come up. There's a reason that the whole ethos in crypto is grounded in decentralization, and we're seeing it here. So this post says, just in, Metamask has blocked Ethereum transactions in Venezuela, citing compliance with laws. And if you watch the news at all, you know that Venezuela is not the only country in the world facing sanctions. There are others, including one gigantic country in Russia. So the question is, if Metamask is now shutting off transactions for nation states that are under sanction, and Russia is under sanction, will all of Russia be shut off? Like, what's going on here? If things are decentralized, the whole point was that these kind of things shouldn't happen. And I won't pretend like MetaMask is the only EVM compatible wallet out there. That's certainly not the case, but we can say that a huge number of people are using MetaMask. It's a very popular wallet. And this, makes people ask questions like this. Hey, Cardano, well, can this happen to Cardano? Would this be an advantage Bitcoin has over Cardano? Ada Well, of course, did a great job very directly dispelling this notion. Not a chance. And he copied the post he'd made just a little bit before that, saying that the post said, just taking a moment to appreciate Cardano's wallet diversity and decentralization. And he names all of the wonderful wallets we have in our ecosystem: Nami Wallet, CC Wallet, Yoroi Wallet, Jero Wallet, Typhon Wallet, NuFi Official, Ada Lite Wallet, Flint Wallet, and of course, our full node wallet, DaidalusWallet.io, plus many more. And he's right. It would be no problem if the, whatever regulatory body in the world you wanted to talk about went to any of our wallets. They could go to Yoroi and say, hey, Yoroi, we want you to block blank country. If you're in that country, no problem. You can pick from one of our many other wallets, and they all work great. You can say there's slightly different functionality between the wallets, but they all work great. You're going to be able to complete your Cardano transactions in the wallet of your choice, no matter what any centralized body tries to say about it. I know what some of you are thinking. You're like, yeah, but what if somebody goes to all of the light wallet providers and forces them to do this because there are, corporations or individuals behind all of these light wallets. Well, you've got a full node wallet in Cardano for a reason. You're still going to be able to download Daedalus. And there's nobody who can, if you have a copy of Daedalus on your computer, there's not really anybody in the world who can stop you from using the Cardano network. The upshot is that Cardano was built to be robust and strong. It was built to last a long time, not just a couple years. And part of that is being decentralized enough that things like this can't happen in Cardano. Another example of our network being Cardano strong, we just distributed 30 million SundaySwap tokens to basically the entire community over the last few days. That's 30 million tokens. Now Drip Drops can finally go back to what it used to be doing, but the whole process, this whole distribution of these 30 million tokens was seamless. It was easy. People barely even noticed they were dealing with a network that just a month ago was so congested. People were people with their wits end last month wondering if Cardano would ever be able to fix the congestion. I think IOHK and everybody at the core of Cardano knew that there were certain solutions coming out, certain parameter changes in the network that would solve a lot of things. And then in June, we'd have this big, giant hard fork combinator event that was going to solve things even more in the form of like this quantum leap forward in scaling. But, a lot of people were asking the question last month, a lot of people who didn't know as much about the details of those changes that were coming, will Cardano ever be able to solve this? There's so much congestion. And yet we just distributed these 30 million tokens and it was the easiest process ever. This is just a glimpse into our future as the strongest and most robust Gen 3 blockchain out there because Cardano actually took the time, invested in its own future instead of the short-term flashy things that would impress venture capitalists. Speaking of Daedalus, if all of this sanctioned stuff has got you thinking, hey, I should probably experience using a full node wallet for once, now's a great time because Daedalus 4.9.0 is out for mainnet. They've got some updates and apparently node syncing is much better. And I've seen reports that the memory usage is much better. And they've even got a full video walkthrough for you. So if you've never used a full node wallet or you've never used Daedalus, now's probably a great time to try it out. Continuing our discussion of this decentralization theme, if you've ever worried about the number of eyes or the amount of brain power that's scrutinizing every single minute thing that goes on in Cardano, don't worry. And I'm not calling the following thing a minute thing, but don't worry because every single little thing that happens in Cardano has a million eyes and a huge amount of brain power focused on it. So here we see this post. This is a report. Hey, there was an SPO call today with IOG. You're probably aware, and we've covered in the past on this channel, that IOG is doing these calls with the stake pool operators, trying to get the feedback of the stake pool operators because there are a lot of parameters that can be changed in Ouroboros that affect the whole stake pool community and all of our delegation and staking. So this post reports that on the call, there was mention from someone at IOG that there's a possibility of the 340 minimum fixed ADA fee changing to 30. And this post also mentions there's also the possibility of hardware requirements increasing. This obviously was a point of a lot of controversy and discussion. As you would guess, as you would assume, a lot of stake pool operators are in different places with their stake pools, and they have different views and different philosophies on all of these parameter issues. So one of the things that's been said in the past is that the 340 ADA fee is a problem because for very small pools that may only produce maybe one block per epoch, that 340 ADA fee would eat up too much of the rewards that would otherwise go to the delegators. Of course, at the same time, you've got stake pools that might be a little bit larger that are saying, hey, I use that 340 minimum fixed fee to pay my hardware costs. And if that is reduced all the way down to 30, I won't be able to pay those costs and I will have to shut down my pool. of course, you've got this wide variety of response to this, and very, very large pools are those approaching saturation right now are much less affected by this because the 340 ADA fee is a much smaller part of the total ADA rewards that they're recouping by running those very large stake pools. So Tim Harrison jumped in. He said, "Hey, Colin shared only his personal thoughts in today's call as part of our ongoing SPO consultation process on these important topics. Absolutely no decisions have been made. Please join the debate by replying to the survey in the Discord shared after the session." And this is exactly what you would expect. I think IOG has made it pretty clear that this whole process of the stake pool operator calls is a consultative process. They're trying to get feedback from the SPO community and hear exactly what's on the minds of the stake pool operators. So it's kind of an entertaining thread. If you want to go check this out, you can see the many different positions of many different stake pools in this thread. But I think it is important to keep in mind that this was one person apparently sharing their own thoughts, and that IOG isn't saying they made any decisions on this kind of thing. They're simply engaging in this consultative discussion process with all the SPOs. You'll notice that the discussion of this topic is very impassioned, and I think that's a really good thing. You've got some stake pool operators, and this is their career right now. This is how they make a living. They've got a lot of skin in the game. They're making some good money off their stake pools, and they don't want their lifestyle to change because of how parameters affect their stake pool. You've also got stake pools that are very, very small, and they're currently, in no way the way that the stake pool operator makes a living and provides for themselves. They're just doing it because they're passionate about Cardano. And often these same people are very passionate about decentralization. I hope that, a large percentage of people in Cardano are passionate about decentralization, especially the stake pool operators. And they're not running the stake pool to make money. Sure, they want to cover their costs. They don't want to be going in the hole to run their stake pool, but they're really doing it because they're passionate about Cardano, and they're passionate about contributing to the project in crypto that they think most embraces decentralization. And I'm glad we have both of those extremes. And of course, there are a million pools in between those two who might even be running a pool for a completely different reason, or they might be, just somewhere on the spectrum between those two extremes. And I'm glad we have all of it. I'm glad our stake pool operator community is so impassioned about all of these parameter issues and decentralization. And there's so much vibrant debate on all these issues. I don't think any of us in Cardano would have it any other way. Having said all that about how much I value the vibrant debate in the Cardano ecosystem, I think this post makes a lot of sense too. Here, Cardano Hieronymus says, "I'm starting to believe hashtag Cardano community is often critical of itself, committing small chronic self-suicides by fudding for things about blockchains, doesn't even think for things other blockchains don't even think a second about." And then he's of course addressing the controversy around the fixed pool cost issue. But, regardless of what relevance you would, or importance or priority you would personally attach to the fixed fee issue, and I'm sure, people will be across spectrum on that. Some people think it's very important. Some people think it's irrelevant. Obviously, Cardano Hieronymus here is saying that he doesn't think it changes our destiny very much, while all of the being overly self-critical might. I think he makes a good point. Regardless of what you think about this fixed fee issue, I think he makes a good point that sometimes, like, Cardano, probably because it attracts a very analytical mindset, Cardano was based so much, it's grounded so much in this very rigorous scientific approach and, self introspection, of the ecosystem. It's like it attracts this very analytical mindset. And sometimes I think that analytical mindset, although it's, the cornerstone of scientific investigation. And I think that's what we're doing. I think trying to design the best Gen 3 blockchain is a scientific investigation. It's a scientific undertaking, and you need to use, rigorous scientific method to achieve the destination, to get to the destination. I think you need all that, but at the same time, that overly analytical mindset, it can kind of work against something else that's a reality for blockchains, and that's that you also have to be appealing to people. Like the users of blockchains, some of them are like us, very analytical. Some of them are just normal people. I think we all would probably agree we're trying to reach out to not just the super analytical blockchain scientists out there, but also everyday users. And if the Cardano community is too overly critical of itself, we're basically doing the opposite of marketing our blockchain. And if every other blockchain, even if you think it's intellectually dishonest, even if their refusal to acknowledge their own shortcomings is intellectually dishonest, the regular everyday users aren't going to get that. They're not going to understand that. They're just going to see, hey, even the Cardano community says the following list of 20 bad things about itself, but over at this other blockchain, they're all saying it's wonderful. The average user isn't going to understand that one side represents intellectual honesty and the other side represents intellectual dishonesty. Of course, I'm also not saying that we should all pretend like everything's perfect and not point out things that can be improved. We, of course, need to do that. But there's also this extreme where you can be too self-critical, and people are going to look at the comments the ecosystem is making about itself and say, you know what? Who knows if they're just very self-critical or not, but I'm going to take my chances to go over here to this other blockchain where they say everything's great. So of course, the best approach is probably somewhere in between those two. I hope Cardano doesn't overdo it on the self-criticism because we can scare off newcomers and everyday users. I hope everybody's ramping up for a great weekend. I'm not just saying that. I actually hope you've got fun things planned this weekend because, of course, there are some really bad things going on in the world today. I hope that's not in your neck of the woods and you're actually doing something fun and enjoyable, fulfilling this weekend. And I'll talk to you soon.